Hola, muy buenos días. Estamos muy contentos de darle la bienvenida a nuestra sesión de Hablando en Concreto, el espacio del Centro de Innovación y Desarrollo donde el conocimiento y experiencia interactúan con ustedes, nuestra audiencia. Mi nombre es Rocío Bautista, colaboradora de CEMEX México, y será un placer acompañarlos en esta experiencia.
Gracias, Rocío. Thank you. And welcome everyone at Hablando en Concreto. We are very pleased to be able to be here with you and present you also Khaled Awad today. Hello, Khaled. How are you? It is our pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. It is really my pleasure.
If I may, Khaled, I will share with the audience your background and resume. Khaled Awad is the president and founder of ACTS, Advanced Construction Technology Services, a materials testing and geotechnical consulting company based in Beirut, Lebanon, and operating in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, India, Rwanda, and several other countries in the Middle East and Africa. Khaled Awad is a former president of the American Concrete Institute, ACI, making him the first and only non-American to hold this position since ACI's establishment in 1904. He's also a member of many ACI's technical and management committees and has received the ACI Henry L. Kennedy Award in 2007. Khaled received his bachelor degree in civil engineering from the American University, Beirut, Lebanon, and his master degree in business administration from the Lebanese University, also in Beirut, Lebanon. Awad is also a member of the American Society of Civil Engineers, ASCE, and the ASTM International, and a member of the United Kingdom Institute of Concrete Technology. This is just an extract of his background and experience. So thanks again, Khaled, to share with us this amazing conference. And go ahead, Khaled, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Arturo. Thank you very much for the invitation. Let me just share my screen. So, buenos dias, buenas tardes. I don't know where you are in the world, but I'm in Paris, so it's 5 o'clock here in the afternoon, and I'm enjoying a good weather in Paris today. I hope you have the same good weather in Mexico. So the seminar is about talking in concrete. Well, actually, we'll be talking a little bit in football today, not just concrete. So for those who are interested in the football part, there will be some information for you. The presentation is in different sections. There's a background on the whole story, how Qatar achieved what it achieved in terms of winning the bid for the World Cup 2022. We'll talk about the stadiums, the infrastructure, the major upscale in the infrastructure of Qatar, and the challenges that were faced, some of the challenges that were faced and during that process. So just for you to realize, Qatar is a very small country. I think it is 2% of the total population of Mexico, around maybe 10–15% of Mexico City. And out of these, there is 320,000 Qatari only. So the rest are expatriates. However, Qatar is one of the top 3 exporters in gas, and you know how gas is becoming the energy source in the world today. And Qatar has the highest GDP per capita because it is one of the top 3 exporters. Little population, small population, and big gas export is making Qatar a rich country. To be able to do the presentation, we had to really get information from RAIL, the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. RAIL is the rail authority in Qatar, and the Public Works Authority which is called Ashghal. So before it won the World Cup, Qatar started in 2008, launched the Qatar National Vision 2030, which was supposed to take Qatar and make it an advanced society capable of achieving sustainable development by 2030. And they made this vision implementable through identifying 4 main pillars: the human development part, the social development part, economic development, and environmental development. And these 4 pillars were really driving Qatar's spending during the last 12–13 years since they launched the vision. So Qatar today has 30 million passengers airport, which was started in 2014. The last expansion was completed last month, 15 October. They have a port capacity of 7.5 million container. This is back in 2016. However, the old port was not just wasted. They used it today as a tourist attraction, and it will be the place for the cruise ships that came to Qatar, because Qatar is trying to have different types of accommodations. The hotels, of course, inside the desert there will be some major tents built, and also the cruise ships. Not just a new airport and a new port. Well, Qatar built a new city, a completely new city called Lusail City. And Lusail is a city that was supposed to be smart, very interconnected, modern, and a new city out of scratch, out of nothing in the desert. So it's spread over 38 square kilometers and will accommodate around 500,000 people. In addition, Qatar thought about its water security issues. So it has gas, there is no problem with the energy, but it cannot start planting desalination plant all over the place. So they have something put as a strategy for water security, which is the water mega reservoir. So they built the biggest water reservoirs in the world in 5 different locations, 15 reservoirs. Approximate capacity is 1,500 million gallons. Also, they started from scratch a metro project. So this is the phase 1, where they connected the different parts of Doha with also the other parts which go to the stadium locations. And inside the new city, the Lusail, the smart city that I was talking about, they also built a light transit network, light rail transit. In addition, major infrastructure projects like highways, airports, bridges, orbital highways around Doha. And the idea was not just to build roads to connect to the stadiums or to connect to the new cities, but also to be able to build an industrial base. And that industrial base was something new for Qatar because it has gas, so power is available. Qatar was able to start a new manufacturing base, and to connect that base with the port and the airport, Qatar developed all these corridors and ring roads and orbital and expressway projects. So we'll talk today about the stadiums, the total of 8 stadiums, 1 that was existing, they just renovated it, and 7 new. All the stadiums are now completed, of course. The games start on the 20th of November, so in 10 days. The Beit Stadium, we'll talk about it, has 60,000 seats. It will host the first match on the 20th of November. And the Lusail Stadium, which is the stadium built in the new city, has a capacity of 80,000 seats and will host the closing ceremony. Let us talk about the stadiums a little bit detail. So in 2010, when Qatar won the bid, it announced plans to build 12 stadiums. But ultimately, it reduced the number to 8. First, because there was so many costs and possible potential delays, but also Qatar found out that they don't need 12 stadiums. 8 could do the job, and FIFA accepted that with them. They established a special committee for delivery and legacy to oversee the construction of the stadiums and the legacy after 2022. And because of the major undertaking, Qatar also earmarked $10 billion on the construction of the 8 stadiums and the infrastructure around the stadiums, not the total infrastructure, just the one around the stadium. The key component that made Qatar win the bid is the legacy part. This was their winning point. This is how they won over the US in 2010 when the bid was out. And this is how Qatar could survive all the negative comments on their human rights and everything, because there's so many people who were not happy with Qatar, a small country, not in the football map, winning that bid. However, Qatar proved that it deserved to win this bid because of many things. First, it delivered on the projects, but most importantly, it delivered on the legacy mode. And by the legacy mode is what would a small country like Qatar do with all these stadiums where there is no population, no football really big regional or national events. So this will be a waste of money or a waste of time. And so what would Qatar do? So Qatar said, all right, I will do these stadiums, I'll build them. However, after we finish the World Cup, these stadiums will not stay as it is. All the seats, or most of the seats, in each of the stadium will be gifted to African countries. And even some parts of the stadiums will be gifted. And the remaining structure inside the stadium, so there will be a small part for the stadium, of course, will be only for entertainment, schools, shopping malls, and different types of tourist attractions or activities or national activities like libraries or others that will make the stadium not just a destination for football seekers, but also for other event seekers. Even there are some stadiums which will have some parks in them on the top, other than the one in the pitch. So because of that legacy mode, which is a two-component mode, one is gifting to poor countries all the seats and all the possible parts of the infrastructure that is mobile, and we'll talk about one of them, and also to diversify the utilization of the football stadium into other modes of use or operation. So the upper tiers of the stadium will be removed and converted into other amenities, which was one of the most important aspects in the design of the stadium, because Qatar doesn't need all this. And that means that players and spectators could enjoy the intimate football atmosphere again, but also with upgraded facilities. Some stadiums will have hotels inside them. So there are so many new things that will come inside the stadium. So the stadium will become part of the fabric of the social life in Qatar. And this is something that Qatar was really forward thinking in, because people go to the stadium just to watch a game. But now they can go to the stadium and bring their families, put them in the mall, and they are watching the game. So that mixture between sport and entertainment is something no one has done before. So 8 stadiums in the small country of Qatar. One in the Al Bayt, which is in the north, and one in the south, which is Al Wakra. And this is the furthest two stadiums from each other, and 6 other within or around Doha. So the most remote Al Bayt and Al Wakra are only 145 kilometers apart. So it never happened that within a World Cup you had all these compact stadiums around a certain location. And all of the stadiums are connected through the metro network. The most iconic one is the Lusail City Stadium. This is part of the city, the new city that they designed, that will host the final. So hopefully if Mexico goes to the final, you can go there and watch that stadium firsthand. It is really an iconic structure. It is something that is very impressive, designed by Foster and the architects Foster and Partners, and local contractors with China Railway built it. And the Oricon, which recently bought KEO, the Kuwait Engineering Office, the Australian project management firm, was behind that project management. It will host the final game. The inspiration of the stadium is the fanar. The fanar lanterns are the old types of lights the Qataris used to use in the desert. And it will be transformed into a community space after the World Cup, with schools, shops, cafes, sporting facilities. And hopefully it will be a catalyst for the growth of the new city, the Lusail city. It is very environmentally progressive, with a very close monitoring of carbon emission and controlling environmental impact during construction and during the operation phase. For that structure, they used ACI 318. So if you're familiar with the ACI building code, this is what they used. The service life design for 60 years, and the strength was 45 and 60 MPa on different sections, around 150,000 cubic meter of concrete was used. Al Bayt Stadium, it is in Al Khor in the north. It is also completed, of course, 60,000 seats, $850 million. And it started in 2015. It was opened in November 2021. The consultant is a Lebanese engineering office called Dar al-Handasa, and the contractors were local and Italian contractors. And again, same project management company for this one as well, KEO. It will host the first match between Qatar, I think Qatar, I forgot who's the first challenger of Qatar. It will also host the matches till the semifinals. It scored very high on the Global Sustainability Assessment System, GSAS, which Qatar used for all their construction and infrastructure. And the concept of the stadium is following a Bedouin tent. It's like a tent, and they call it the Beit al-Sha'ar, which is the way people had big tents to have everybody in it. It's a canvas-like facade, and the upper tier will be removed and will be all gifted, and the final number of seats will be 32,000. So here you will see that around 28,000 seats will be gifted, and it will be used by the local team in Al Khor. Again, there will be a 5-star hotel in the upper tier part. Now in Qatar, they don't follow 100% ACI 318, but they follow sometimes a combination depending for the wind load or for the earthquake. But they followed here in this situation, in this case, ACI 318 building code and Euro code. Service life is 50 years. They use different types of cement, and the quantity of concrete used is 285,000 cubic meter. Al Janoub Stadium is in Al Wakra. It is the further one in the south. It has 41,000 seats, approximately, around $800 million. Again, it was delivered 3 years ago, completed 3 years ago, 5 years of construction. Zaha Hadid, the famous architect, designed it, and AECOM did the local engineering design. Local contractor and the Belgian construction company, Six Construct, did the work with the local project management company as well. The Janoub Stadium is the second one to be completed, and it is top rated by the sustainability system that Qatar has used. It will host matches up to the quarterfinals, and it has a very specific design, looking like sails of the traditional dhow boats, the ones that you see in the Gulf. They used to use in the Gulf before. And it has shade. It is having an aerodynamic design to reduce the wind effect. And all the mechanical systems that are used have been utilizing the design shape to reduce the amount of air conditioning that is needed and reduce the impact of heat, of course. And 20,000 seats will be donated. And the upper tier will include school, wedding hall, cycling tracks, restaurants, etc. Now, the grass turf of the stadium was laid in a world record time, 9 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, these types of things helped a lot in finishing these stadiums on time. And they brought different suppliers in different areas. One of them was this grass turf supplier, and they committed to lay it in such a world record time to have the stadium completed on time. The roof is retractable, so it opens and closes. And it's all titanium dioxide coated membrane. So you can open it completely and close it with steel wires if you have sudden rain or something. The design of the stadium and the surrounding is around 85,000 square meters. So there is a lot of infrastructure around this one. And they used special timber from Australia, which has very low environmental impact. Actually, part of it is recycled. Here, they didn't use ACI. They used the European building codes. Service life is 50 years. They used surface resistant cement, the old nomination of cement, and around 220,000 cubic meter were used. Let's have a look at this stadium. So that gives you an idea of the scale of the stadium and the work that was done in it. It is all of these stadiums started from scratch and in a record time, and they had COVID in the last 3 years, which really delayed some of the work, but still Qatar was able to achieve everything on time. Education City Stadium is completed as well, 45,000 seats, $650 million. It started in 2016, opened in 2020. Fenwick Iribarren Architects, and the contractor was Joanny and Paraskividis from Greece, and local project management company. It will host matches through the quarterfinals. Seating capacity was increased recently by 5,000 seats, and the stadium takes the form of a jagged diamond. So remember the Gulf countries were in the Middle East. They used to look for pearls through their fishing boats, their dhows, inside the sea, and they found diamonds sometimes. And this diamond has also a symbolic value for the locals in the region. It will glow by night, so it's also fancy. And 20,000 seats will be donated after the World Cup. And it also had a high rating for the environmental impact. So they used ACI 304, EN, the building code, and Qatar construction standards. Qatar, as part of the vision, is to have some local standards that reflect more what is happening in the country. And in 2010, Qatar started a new standardization body, and they issued Qatar construction standards in 2015. Which is the second version. And this is what's governing mostly now today Qatar construction. The service life for this one is 100 years. They use different types of cement with glass, with slag, ground granulated plus furnace slag, and around 240,000 cubic meters of concrete were used. The Ahmed bin Ali Stadium is in Anrifa, again, close to Doha. It is completed, 45,000 seats, $600 million. Started in 2015, finished in 2020. Consultant is Rambol, and the contractor is local, and the Indian company Larsen and Toubro, and project management AECOM. It will also host matches to the quarterfinals, 4-star on the GSAS. It was built in place of the existing Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. So again, it was inspired by local culture as a large tent and desert landscape. And used many of the material that was taken from the existing Ahmed bin Ali Stadium, which was demolished. So the renovation includes a huge media facade and a membrane that will act as a screen for projection. So even part of the facade is going to be projections for ads or films, or could be done as a cinema in the future. Post 2022, around 50% of the seats will be donated as well. Here, ACI 318 and Qatar construction standards were used, 60 years design life, different types of cement, mixed design, 60 MPa, and around 100,000 cubic meters of concrete. The Khalifa International Stadium in Al Waab, it's close to Doha as well, completed 40,000 seats. So only 90 million because this is a renovation stadium. So there was something existing, they built over it. It opened in May 2017. It was used many times already. And Dar al Handasa Engineering and 6 Construct and Midmac as a construction. This is the first venue to be completed because the stadium existed. This is the only renovated stadium. So this is built on an existing one. It will host matches up to the quarterfinal, 4-star on the GSAS. And the renovation included a completely new tier, upper tier of 12,000 seats, in addition to a new facade and LED pitching and digital floodlights and a new roof. So unlike the other stadium, this is not a modular stadium, so you cannot dismantle it because it existed. It's all a concrete. And it is part of the Doha Sports City Complex, which is a new sports quarter in Doha, and will be used by Aspire Academy. So what Qatar did, they established a new academy to train people on different sports, football being one of them, and getting the youth from the early times to really train on different sports and football. This Aspire Academy will be hosted in this area. So in the construction phase, to support the roof holding 92 panels in place, around 4,000 tons of steel tension cables were used. And special operator was brought from India to install a section of the arches. And these weighed more than 47 tons. Even the crane weighed more than 600 tons. So the scale of the weight was unbelievable. It was too big to handle, and very uncharted weights being lifted. And the highest point of the stadium is going to be 100 meters above the ground. So it's quite high. It took 3 years to renovate the whole stadium. The design code is European and the local standards, 50 years design life, different cements, and 50 MPa concrete, 170,000 cubic meters. Now, this is where Mexico is going to play, the 974 stadium. It was called Ras Abu Abud, which is an area near the sea, but they changed the name to 974 because it is built all from ship containers. And it has 974 ship containers. So it's all modular, all built with containers, which will be all dismantled, and the whole stadium can be built somewhere else. I think this one the whole stadium was gifted, I believe, to Morocco, and it will be transported after the World Cup to Morocco on Qatar expenses. And this is really something that has never been done before, just move a complete stadium. And to do that, they used the shipping containers, 974 of these. And this is where the new name is coming from. It was done by Fenwick, Iribaran, architects, HBK, local contracting company, and local project management companies. It will host matches up to the quarterfinals, all modular recycled shipping containers and modular steel elements for concourse area, stands with around 8mm folded steel plates, and roof using modular truss. It will be completely dismantled and reused outside Qatar. So less material, less waste because of this modular construction. They used Eurocode for that, 50 years, sulfate resistant, and cement, and 40 MPa, 30,000 cubic meter only, because it's all container steel. It's all container, so concrete only for the foundations. Al Thumama is in Al Thumama area, again, close to Doha. It is completed, 40,000 seats, $340 million, $45 million. It took 5 years to build, local consultant and Turkish and local contractor and project management in Qatar. This is the only stadium that was designed by a local Qatari architect, and it took the old hat model of the Qatari hat and designed the stadium around that. It has got many awards, and also it will be the showcase for all the stadiums or for all the World Cup projects that were done. The capacity of the stadium will be reduced to 20,000 because around 20,000 seats will be donated to other nations. It used 318 Eurocode, 50-year service life, both ordinary and sulfate-resistant cement, 85,000 cubic meter. So that's the stadium story. Now let's talk about the infrastructure. The challenge for Qatar was not just to build the stadiums, because you can build them and then you cannot reach them. So they had to really have a big infrastructure roadmap. Just to give you the scale of what happened in Qatar, in 2017, the finance minister in Qatar announced that Qatar was investing around $500 million every week in infrastructure. So that gives you the idea of how much money was being spent on the infrastructure. And total spent is approximately evaluated, not just MEED, the Middle East Economic Digest, but other sources also, more than $200 billion, including the stadiums, of course. So 20 billion on roads, 40 billion train and metros, 25 billion airport and new port, 5 billion on hospitality projects and hotels, 30 billion on other construction projects related to the infrastructure undertaking. So as part of the transportation infrastructure, the major part went to the ongoing construction of the metro project. And most projects were being funded by public-private partnerships. So there was there was investors coming and participating in the financing of the project. Another challenge was the sewage and wastewater network. So Qatar launched IDRIS, which is the Inner Doha Resewerage Implementation Strategy, which is a huge overhaul of the whole sewage system. They built new sewers to drain all the wastewater produced, and it cost around $3 billion, around 45 kilometers across all the capital city of Doha. The expressway is the major road network. It is the key component of the vision because the connectivity was part of the mission or the vision of 2030. Around $14 billion for that project. It has 51 separate different projects, and we'll talk about some of them. So orbital highway, the highway taking to the new city, the east-west corridor, and this will be the backbone of Qatar's growing road network, the expressway program. And it will relieve it already started relieving the traffic congestion within Doha. And there is a lot of underpasses, flyovers. We'll see them in the course of the presentation. So part of that expressway was the new orbital highway, which is the highway around the city of Doha. And it is a main traffic reducer or mitigator for the whole Doha city. Because you can go out, it's like the major Western cities. I think Mexico has also an orbital highway. Paris, all the major cities have orbital highways. And I think this is going to be key to reduce traffic in Doha. And it connects with different key highways. As I mentioned, the idea is not just to get the stadiums, but also to be able to connect the new areas, new cities, new industrial bases, new residential areas, business areas, to Doha and to the airport and to the port. Now, Doha Metro, as I said, this is the biggest undertaking because it started from nothing. It has underground. There is also overground. There are so many different sections, and the water table in Doha is high. So you imagine the kind of excavation and kind of dewatering that was done. It has 4 lines, 300 kilometers. 100 stations, 2 phases, red, golden, and green lines. It's started in 2019, 37 stations. I used it. It's a very user-friendly. And what the Qatar government did in the city of Doha is to have buses around the station that will be able to move people to certain places in the city if the metro doesn't reach that place. So it's a combination of metro and buses to reduce the traffic congestion in the city. There is another phase that started. Qatar saw a lot of value in this metro, and I think it will be completed in 2026, the blue line, they call it. The total cost is around $36 billion, and this metro will connect to all the stadiums. That's an idea about the metro lines that takes you from the north to the south and the west and the east. Now the shark crossing is a huge crossing to an island. So it's a kind of 3 parts all connected under an underwater tunnel. So the 3 bridges will cover length between 600 and 1,300 meters. They will connect Doha Airport with the north of the city. And the idea is to be able to get out of the city and reach the airport without needing to go through the city. So the sophisticated part is West Bay Bridge. It will have the highest arch span in the world and will connect the shore with the marine interchange. This West Bay Bridge will not just have a crossing, but also a park, food outlets, so you can stroll and stay on the bridge and use transportation as a destination, not just as an access means. And this is a high bridge, 125 meters above sea level. So also you can see the view, especially at night when you're there. Other notable projects, Qatar is building a solar plant, 800 megawatt, although it has gas, but still it's diversifying its energy source. A new island, Kedifan Island, is one of the biggest projects. Qatar National Museum, which is a very sophisticated museum with white concrete. So all these projects were done in parallel as part of the infrastructure upgrade that Qatar was doing. There are other projects coming up, which is Giwan Island, Al Maha Island, and another upgrade for the Corniche Road. So the projects that are lined up in Qatar, people think, so what would Qatar do after 2022? Well, the projects lined up for Qatar is to transform Qatar into a hub for many things: sports destination, tourist destination, business destination, industrial destination. So this is how Qatar is looking at the World Cup as a transition in their Vision 2030 from a Gulf country known to have gas to a Gulf country that becomes a destination. There are boulevards, towers, and all of them iconic. You can see this is the Qatar Towers, which is now becoming the icon of Doha city. The Lusail Plaza Towers, very high towers, 300 meters each. Different water treatment plants. Of course, Qatar is the country with the largest American military base, and there is a new Turkish military base as well. Electrical bus depots. Again, these are all world record in terms of size. Now, all this hasn't been built by push button. So you would imagine that there were major challenges for the construction. So first of all, the major challenge was time. And remember, I didn't mention a little bit about the Middle East in the beginning. So the Middle East has the highest temperature, the Gulf countries, especially places like Qatar, highest temperature, highest humidity in the world. So more than the Caribbean. And the temperature comes to easily 45 degrees in summer, even 50. In addition, it is surrounded by the ocean. So you have airborne salts. So you have the recipe for corrosion. This is the perfect recipe for corrosion. And when you add to that fast track projects, so imagine the challenges you have to go through. And because we are a company that does quality control and testing, and so we were really implicated in things that we have never seen before during our 30 years of operation. So there are tasks related to finishing on time, but also quality, durability, sustainability, environmental impact. All these were done in parallel. So from a project management point of view, it was quite a nightmare. Now, this is the smallest country to ever host any World Cup. And Qatar is expecting 1.5 million visitors in a very short period of time, so less than a month. And now with the opening of the airport and with the expansion, they will reach 5,700 visitors per hour during the World Cup. Just from Dubai, Qatar will receive daily 80 flights. Just Dubai, forget Abu Dhabi, other places in the world. So Dubai jumped to the wagon immediately, and they launched a major flying campaign so people can go back and watch the match and come back to Dubai if they wanted. Around 80 flights per day, actually more than 80 flights per day. So there will be another upgrade of the land border because people will come from Saudi or from the UAE by car. And there will be free shuttles, like the metro station. They have free shuttles. And the metro timing will change till 3 a.m. And the public bus fleet has been expanded in a big way with electrical buses. And this is the new thing. So again, this is a compact development. So within 55-kilometer radius, you have all the stadiums. Just an example, Germany, 400 kilometers. South Africa 700, Brazil 1400. So Qatar with 55 radius is quite an undertaking to build all this in a compact way. And it may be an advantage from an environmental point of view for transportation and others, but operationally and logistically it was quite an issue. And you need to really have perfect execution and efficiency and as little traffic blocks as possible. For example, just an example, Al Rayyan city, which is close to Doha city, the capital, will have 3 stadiums within less than half an hour and can face many, many of these challenges. So let's talk about some of the examples of these projects. So the National Library is the first building in Qatar with wide concrete finishes. It's a 138 by 138 dimension on the roof, And it consists of 2 square plates, 138 meter wide, pulled apart and folded diagonally at the corners to create a shell-like container. Concrete quantity was 35,000 cubic meter. Now, you would say, why was this a problem? Because we had to monitor the concrete poured from up to bottom, not the way we do it normally. And that was quite a challenge as well. So workability was the issue, the sequence of the concrete pouring, the finishes, many trials and errors and mock-ups were done to see how we can manage that. And then also the taking out the soffit because of the structural design and the casting upside down. That really complicated the whole construction phase. And you had to have fair face finish on the column, so it was another challenge to have concrete, white, and with a fair face. Now, this is another challenging project, which is the reservoirs. I spoke about them. They have a design life of 100 years using AWWA, American Water Works Association, and using pre-stressing for the concrete. It will supply 620,000 cubic meter. This is the one of the facilities, and around 2.5 gigawatt of hydroelectricity, which is around 25% of the daily demand. Around 50,000 cubic meter for the stadiums and 2,000 cubic meter for the tanks and 2,000 cubic meter of shotcrete for the project. Now, each of the reservoirs will have a 159,000 cubic meter, 35 million gallon capacity. Around 208 columns for the tanks, circumferential pre-stressing, more than 1,000 tons, 2,000 kilometers of galvanized strands. So imagine again the length of the strands used, and the circumferential pre-stressing was applied by an automated mechanical force application system. So it was all built through robotic systems. And let's have a look at it. This is the time lapse where you'll see how things are being built. Another project is the expressway of Lusail. Again, you'll see these arches when you come to Doha. It took 5.5 years to build the expressway of Lusail, which takes you to Lusail. 686,000 of cast in place and precast concrete, 6 meter deep reinforced concrete foundations, and that will hold 9,000 ton steel artscape double arches, which you will see. This is becoming now a very famous icon of Doha now. This is Qatar is marketing its city with this. Precast girders, custom designed for 906 bridge beams And trenchless methodology using precast concrete pipe jacking microtunnels for wet and dry utilities was implemented. So it's a 6 vehicular tracks and 1 rail tunnel, deep concrete box structures constructed below the water table. So imagine again the construction challenges. 2 to 3 meters thick base slabs accounting for buoyancy because of the water pressure, and special concrete technology for waterproofing and durability. 2 flyover piers, around 24 cubic meter of concrete without any construction joint. Again, this is huge in terms of mass concrete, heat generation, all the challenges that you would find in concrete are there, and 22-hour uninterrupted concrete placement in hot weather. So just to put things in perspective, in 2010, Qatar had 2,500 kilometers of highways. It has now more than triple that number with 8,500. Local roads total 9,500, today 34,000 kilometers. 160 bridges, now 200. 2 tunnels, 32. 2,000 buses, 84 kilometers of metro, and 10 stadiums, including the existing one. So let's talk about the fancy part of FIFA World Cup this year in Qatar, because you will hear so many comments, some of them positive, some of them negative, but Qatar managed to really navigate all this and get something that will be, I think, to the expectation of every football fan. So as an Islamic country, Qatar doesn't offer alcohol except in the hotels, or especially only in the hotels. But Qatar provides several fan zones where alcohol is openly served. So that's another thing. Accommodation, not just hotels, but because of the sheer scale of visitors, 70,000 hotel rooms may not be enough. So they brought cruise ships in addition of building a tent area inside the desert. Number of flights is unseen before in Qatar. So as I said, just 80 from Dubai and around 1,300 in total daily from different destinations in the world and the region. This is the first ever Winter World Cup. So FIFA changed their schedule. It's the first time they start in Qatar in November instead of June. And I think this is the first experimentation of that. So we'll see how it goes. And this will be the most commutable World Cup because of the metro and the connectivity. So some of the stadiums will have air conditioning. So if you feel very hot, because there will be some matches around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can come and take some break with some areas that are air conditioned. And this is the most expensive World Cup ever done. Just imagine the infrastructure, not just for the stadium, but as a total investment and undertaking. This was a huge undertaking for Qatar. You know, imagine 70,000 street lights and all the numbers I mentioned about the other components of the infrastructure were really mind-boggling. I would like to thank you very much for your attendance. I hope you find something interesting in this, and I really would like to, for you who can visit Qatar, to really make that effort and visit it. It is going to be worth your trip, and good luck to Mexico in this World Cup. Thank you very much.
Khaled, first of all, we thank you for the time. The talk has been amazing.
I think we run on time. We want to thank you, Khaled, to being with us. It was an amazing overview that the World Cup will be. We hope that your wishes to Mexico takes effect. Thank you so much. We really appreciate, Khaled. We will be very aware of what happens in the World Cup, and with your talk, we will enjoy more to see the World Cup. Thank you so much, Khaled.
Thank you for inviting me, and I hope some of you can come and you will really feel what has been done in Qatar. And good luck again for Mexico.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khaled. Nuevamente, muchas gracias a todos los asistentes que se conectaron y los esperamos en el próximo año en Hablando en Concreto. Sigan pendientes de los medios de CEMEX para la invitación y el registro. Nos interesa mucho su experiencia, por lo que los invitamos a contestar una encuesta de esta conferencia, la cual se abrirá en su navegador web una vez cerrada esta sesión de Zoom. Gracias, buenos días y los esperamos el siguiente año en Hablando en Concreto. Hasta pronto.